Welcome to another edition of Pinot with Pag and Panettieri, brought to you by the folks at N-able. We discuss the critical role that MSPs play in the small business ecosystem and where your business could be heading next to succeed. Got a question for us? Post it in the comments area and we'll try to cover it in a future edition. John, great to see you. How you been?
Great, Joe. Nice to see you again. I'm in a little bit of a different environment this time.
Yeah, beautiful setting. Home office. Where are you?
Yeah, just like the rest of us, I'm in a hybrid work environment. Spend some time in the office and spend a day or two every week working from home.
Very good. Very good. Well, it's nice to have you back on camera. Thanks for taking some time. Where should we start? We're recording this let me see here, November 19th. And I think we're a few days past, you guys announced earnings. Now, listen, I don't want to get into the dollars and cents of it all, but I am very interested in trends from the most recent quarter. I mean, what are the key trends you saw out there for both N-able and the broader market?
Yeah, sure. And happy to share even a little bit of the financials as well. Overall, so it was a strong quarter for N-able. I think overall it showed another strong quarter for the industry. We had a couple of trends that really popped up, and I mentioned this in the earnings call as well. But we continue to see strong need for the MSPs to add security offerings to small medium enterprises across the globe. We saw that manifest itself in two ways in particular in the N-able business. Our EDR offering, the N-able EDR offering, continued to be a strong adoption for the MSP. So that was a big part of our story. And we also saw Office 365 backup and our overall data protection as a service offering continue to be a strong offering in all parts of the globe, by the way, in North America, internationally, small MSPs, large MSPs. As we look across, and as you know, we service the very small MSPs, but all the way up to these very large MSPs. And it's interesting, Joe. It's been very consistent, whether no matter what part of the globe you're in or where you are in your MSP journey as a business, all MSPs are looking to add on additional services for security. So that continued to be a hot one.
Yeah, I want to ask, can I ask a little more about the security? You mentioned EDR, endpoint detection and response. I'm curious about that. I know it's a growing market, hot market, no doubt. But is it pull or push or a combination? And here's what I mean. Are the end customers demanding it? Are they sort of pulling it from the MSP? Or is the MSP sort of pushing it to the end customer and pulling it from you? I mean, or is it a little bit of everything? I mean, where do you see the demand here? Who's generating the demand ultimately?
Yeah, very good question. But by the way, this is called Pinot with Pags.
Yeah,
I'd be remiss to not bring up the Pinot selection. So this is bread and butter. It's a Pinot. I'm not really sure where. Oh, it's a California Pinot. I'm gonna pour it while I answer the question because I think it's appropriate, Joe. The security offerings. As I think about the growth algorithm. Salute, by the way.
Yes, salute.
As I think about the growth algorithm for MSPs, and really for service providers, large and small. It's rooted first in this need to retain your customers, and the way MSPs typically, not always, but one of the highest reasons why MSPs lose a customer is if their customer has an incident, ransomware attack, some type of cyber incident. And so to keep that growth algorithm healthy and steady, the first thing you need to do is retain the customers. You need to make sure that the end customer has the right layered security. EDR is a fantastic endpoint security offering. And so it's that part of the growth algorithm. And then it also helps them expand wallet share at small, medium enterprises. I've been talking to, actually I spent some time in the Midwest in Chicago. I met with a half dozen MSPs in Chicago, ranging from all different sizes and all different types of maturity levels. And consistently, MSPs are using security and our EDR offering to expand the wallet share for the small, medium enterprise. Is it push or pull? You said it. The answer is both, right? We're seeing MSPs going to their customer base saying, look, if you're not willing to have subscribed to this layered security formula with these solutions, I'm not ready to be your customer. I'm not ready to be your service provider. In fact, we might need to part ways. So we're seeing that as a push. We're also seeing small, medium enterprises saying, hey, look, I need to level up my security posture. I have compliance needs. I have customer needs. I need to have data protection. I'm aware of what's going on in this world. I'm also aware that I'm part of the supply chain, and we're seeing small, medium enterprise pulling. So it's definitely a push or pull. But I think the world is super mindful that this layered security approach is a necessary one. And at the root of those things is, there's data protection to make sure that you can back up and restore the data if something were to happen. And on the front end, from an endpoint at least point of view, it's this protection that EDR offers. So it's a fundamental part of the growth algorithm for these MSPs.
Got it. One follow-up question on EDR, then I'll jump to the sort of data protection and backup area. But on EDR, to use the U.S. baseball metaphor, what inning are we in with EDR? Are we still in the early stages of the game? Second, third, fourth inning, or are we getting fifth, sixth, seventh inning in terms of MSP adoption here? What do you think we are with EDR?
I'd probably put us at the third inning. I think we're still in the early innings if you were to break up the first third, second third, and third third. But so I think we're in the early stages for a couple of reasons. One, the technology itself, and this is why we chose to go with a partner like SentinelOne. They're continuing to evolve. They're offering, they continue to add other services that stack on top of EDR. So what EDR is today, but there's also other layers, whether it be deep visibility or more of some type of NDR action that people can take action on top of the data that's collected from the EDR. So I believe it to be early innings. I think it's reflective in the level of adoption we have. It is from the small shops and the large shops. But what we're finding, Joe, is MSPs are adopting it in pockets. And then as they get a little bit more comfortable with it, then they're deploying it across their entire estate. And it's critical that MSPs are deploying it across their entire estate. They don't want to have a pocket of vulnerability there. So I'd categorize it as early innings. I think that industry is doing a great job adding additional services, adding other layers of protection around there. So I think there's a lot more to come, both for the MSPs and for service providers like N-able.
Yeah. By the way, for the record, I would have said third inning too. And I think one of the great things about EDR is even though it's early innings, the technology does work, and that's not me endorsing any particular vendor. It's just I see the EDR industry and what it's doing to mitigate the ransomware threat and many other threats out there. So it's great to see that. So if that's the front end and MSPs having success there, tell me more about the back end with Office 365, data protection, business continuity, et cetera. What are you seeing there?
Sure. For those that follow and understand the NIST framework, they know one of the key pillars of the NIST framework is the ability to back up and recover or restore your data, right? Data is the new gold, as they say, right? And that data sometimes resides on a workstation or in a cloud or in a closet, or it's also resides in the cloud, right? And what I tell folks is you have to make sure that your data is protected from that journey from the closet to the cloud. And so, the enabled backup offering does all of that in one console, and it's a cloud-based recovery solution. And what we're seeing is MSPs now are looking at their customer base, and if their customers are using Office 365 and they're using ShareDrive or they're using Teams, they need that extra level of security for a couple of reasons. One, it might be compliance. It might be a compliance-driven reason. They might be mindful of if something gets corrupt and they might need to restore a particular file or folder, and in the off chance that their hyperscaler or their provider has an issue, that they can actually be able to restore that in a manner quickly. It's important for these MSPs to provide that level of peace of mind to their end customers. And so it's a low cost offering for the MSPs. It's one that the MSPs can generate a solid profit when they're providing that offering, and it's I think a key part of a continuity or disaster recovery as a service or disaster recovery plan for the small medium enterprise. So it's really a win-win-win. It's a win for the SME. They have their continuity plan in place. It's a win for the MSP. They have a solution that they can use. It's not taking a lot of their resources, and provide an extra strategic level of service to their customer, and it's a win for for N-able, because we're putting another software piece of the software puzzle in place for the MSPs that they can consume and grow their business on.
Got it. Got it. Okay. I'm going to switch topics entirely, which we often do on this podcast series. Very educational, and then something offbeat will come up. In this particular instance, you're speaking with your hands a lot. You're Italian. I'm Italian. Tell me about the painting behind you. Is there some symbolism here going on? What's going on behind you?
Yeah, my wife said, "Hey, John, I have a piece of artwork for you that I think really captures your essence." And I said, "Don't tell me, surprise me." And so she, for those of you that know me, and for those of you that might come from Italian heritage or have Italian friends, they know. If you have a fellow Italian or someone going like this to you, it's they're saying, "Hey, what do you mean? What's going on? What is that?" Yeah, or it can mean other things too.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a homage to my.
It could be a good day or a bad day.
To my ancestry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Excellent. Thanks for the background. So, getting back to the topic at hand, sort of Q3 and other trends you saw. You talked about the front end and mitigating risk there, the back end, protecting the data. I think to tie it all together, are MSPs able to march forward in a profitable way with these technologies and these services? One thing I do worry about is of course, we all see great growth for the MSPs out there, but you don't want to grow just for the sake of growing. You want to grow in a profitable way to raise that business valuation as the MSP. Do you see them able to do that as they march forward with these new services that they're extending out to the end customer?
So I'll tell you what, Joe. It's the new services. When I'll talk to mid-market companies and small companies, and I ask if what their experience is with their MSP. It's clear that MSPs have become more and more of that strategic partner. I think COVID and the shutdown that occurred, now and from the early part of 2020, really solidified the MSP as a trusted partner and business advisor. And I think that was one of the we'll look back and say that was one of the the key quarters in this industry where MSPs really stood up. So that's one thing. The other thing I'm seeing, Joe, labor scarcity continues to be top of mind for small shops, medium shops, and large shops. And the other trend I'm seeing is MSPs are now coming in and gaining access to larger and larger opportunities. What I like to say is that the doors of opportunity for the MSPs are going larger and larger. I'm seeing MSPs all across the globe increasing their new customer acquisition size. In other words, customers that they may have acquired 3 years ago are now the customers that they're acquiring now are either twice or 3 times the size. 8 years ago, Joe, when I got into this industry, I think it was typical that MSPs were servicing companies that were 20 people on down, right? What I call the VSMEs. And now MSPs are walking into companies with 500 employees, 5,000 employees. We have a couple of customers that I speak to the CEOs quite regularly, and they're saying, "Hey, John, we're only taking on business if the customer base has 500 employees on up, because we're able to come to them with this layered security approach. We're coming to them with this proactive approach." They understand that. So the opportunity is getting bigger. What does that mean for the MSPs? 2 things. The TAM, the total addressable market of service providers, is getting bigger and going up market. And so that's a positive. The challenge is, okay, if I'm an MSP watching this, how do I get my share or more than my share in this trend where everything's going up? And so for me, that's the challenge. If I'm an MSP owner right now and it's the end of 2021, I should be thinking about, okay, in 2022, what are the things I need to do to help me and my business go a little bit up the stack so I can increase that productivity and that profitability? Because the question that you asked was the right one. It's not just growth, it's growth on the top line and growth at the bottom line. And if an MSP can go a little bit further up the stack, come to a more mature company or a customer base that can offer all these offerings, my belief is that their profitability will go up as well.
Got it. And that's the perfect segue for us. I know our next conversation is going to talk about 2022 and a look ahead. But in the meantime, thank you very much for the recap on Q3. I appreciate it, and salute. Great to see you as usual.
Hey, and I'd be remiss not to say congratulations. to you and your team and to Amy on the Cyber Risk Alliance deal. It's a great combination. Two great companies joining forces. So congratulations to you and to Amy and to the team. So salute for that as well. And happy holidays.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And you know what? I would suspect that most of our viewers know about the deal, but for those who don't, just go out and Google Cyber Risk Alliance and ChannelE2E or MSSP Alert, and you'll hear all about it. The short answer is the team's together. We're marching forward, and we're looking to doing some great things. And John, thank you for all the conversations. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. We'll see you next year, or almost next year.
Almost.